Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a geological event of truly staggering proportions, the massive 7.8 earthquake that recently ripped through the southern Philippines. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this disaster, we're going to use a zoom-in, zoom-out approach. We'll start right there on the ground with a terrifying local impact, and then we'll pull all the way back to look at the regional tsunami threats and the macro-geological forces driving the whole shebang.
Okay, let's dive into this. 7.8. Just let that number sink in for a second. That makes this the single strongest quake to hit the Philippines this entire year. A number that high, well, it doesn't just shake the ground, it violently ruptures it. It tests the structural integrity of an entire region, and it literally stops the lives of millions of people right in their tracks. And to really humanize that raw data, just listen to this account from Rod Salsamena. He's a regional director of the Office of Civil Defense, and he was traveling in the hard-hit port city of General Santos. He said, "Our pickup truck suddenly jerked, and I thought we had a flat tire. The shaking was very strong, and people dashed out of houses into the streets. Just imagine driving down the road, and the sheer power of the earth moving under you makes you think your truck is completely breaking down. Next thing you know, you're seeing panicked residents fleeing their homes. It puts you directly into that visceral, totally disorienting experience of that morning." Section 1. The 7.8 magnitude strike. So this quake hit right at 7:37 a.m. local time, off the coast of Mindanao, which is the Philippines' second most populous island. And honestly, that timing is absolutely critical. We are talking about an island home to roughly 26 million people. At 7:37 in the morning, the whole place is in motion, right? It's the absolute peak of the morning commute. It's the exact moment parents are dropping their kids off at school. Because it struck at a depth of 33 kilometers just offshore, those seismic waves had a direct, devastating path right to the densely populated coastline, right as everyone was just starting their day.
You can really get a sense of just how widespread this violent shaking was from Ednar de Yaranghirang in the port city of Davao. He recalled that he could hardly stand and keep his balance when the ground shook as he was leaving his house. He was miles away from the epicenter, but the tremors were so intense that just standing upright became physically impossible. It just goes to show how inescapable the brute force of a 7.8 magnitude strike really is.
Section 2. Devastation in Mindanao. Let's move to Mindanao and see how this builds.
Taking a look at the intimate, tragic, local impact across the region, the statistics are incredibly sobering. We're looking at least 35 fatalities reported, over 200 people injured, and a staggering 10,000 families displaced from their homes in a single instant. And tragically, these intense tremors destabilized the mountainous terrain, triggering a deadly landslide in the municipality of Glan that claimed 13 lives. The scenes on the ground were just visceral. Low-rise buildings and infrastructure sustained heavy damage, including the complete collapse of a Jollibee fast food restaurant that was just reduced entirely to rubble. And remember that morning timing we talked about? Well, because public schools had just reopened, it led to some truly terrifying scenes. Over in Davao Occidental, students were caught right in the middle of their morning flag-raising ceremonies. As the ground shook and corrugated school roofs actually began to fail, over 100 students sustained bruises or literally just fainted in sheer panic as they crouched on the shaking earth.
Section 3. Tsunami threats and ripples. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how clearly we can track the ocean's response, carrying that energy across the globe. A single quake off the coast of Mindanao triggered ocean gauges thousands of miles away. The largest wave hit the local coastal town of Kiamba at 1.4 meters, but that displaced water just kept pushing outward. It registered at 83 centimeters in Sulawesi, Indonesia, 30 centimeters in Palau, and it even reached Kushimoto, Japan at 20 centimeters. It's just a stark visual reminder of how deeply interconnected our oceans are to these seismic events.
Section 4. The Ring of Fire.
Zooming out to the macro level, this all comes down to the Ring of Fire. For those familiar, this is that massive horseshoe-shaped arc of seismic faults around the Pacific Ocean. It is characterized by highly active volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. It's essentially a zone where massive tectonic plates are constantly grinding and diving beneath one another, building up just immense amounts of friction.
And this brilliantly illustrates the relentless, compound natural forces the Philippines is up against year after year. Sitting squarely on this unstable ring makes earthquakes an inherent hazard of daily life, like the deadly 6.9 magnitude quake they experienced just last September. Now combine that seismic threat below the ground with an average of about 20 typhoons lashing them from above annually, and you have an environment defined by extreme natural extremes.
Section 5. Rescue and Recovery. Looking at the timeline, the morning progressed in a chaotic but incredibly swift manner. After the initial 7.8 strike at 7:37 a.m., the region was hammered by more than 130 aftershocks over the next few hours. Some of these reached a magnitude of 6.7, creating a highly dangerous environment for survivors and responders. But by 12:30 p.m., the tsunami warnings were officially lifted, which allowed officials to pivot entirely from monitoring imminent threats to focusing on desperate search and rescue operations in the rubble.
The national government was quick to mobilize. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stated quite clearly, "The national government is moving, and we will not leave Mindanao behind." This directive translated into immediate, objective actions on the ground, like canceling classes region-wide to keep students safe, and rapidly deploying disaster response agencies to the hardest-hit provinces.
The sheer logistical response has been massive. The Bureau of Fire was out conducting local search and rescue operations through damaged buildings and warehouses. To clear up airspace and manage the crisis, 17 domestic flights were canceled, and the airport in General Santos was temporarily shut down. Meanwhile, recognizing the absolute scale of this disaster, international support was prepped and ready from allies including the US, France, Japan, and New Zealand, all stepping up to assist the Philippine response efforts.
So, the crucial point is that this 7.8 earthquake is a stark reminder of the immense, unstoppable forces of our planet. The devastation is heart-wrenching for sure, but the rapid, global response really highlights our incredible human capacity to mobilize and help one another. Which leaves us with a final, profound question to consider. In a region fundamentally defined by its volatile geography, how do communities continue to rebuild and adapt on the very edge of the Ring of Fire? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.